Welcome to English Through Ideas. Today, we're exploring an explainer on something, well, pretty amazing. The world around us is changing fast, right? You see it in the news, and you definitely feel it in your daily life. But here's the interesting part. This change isn't actually new. In fact, our changing world follows a very natural, repeating cycle. So let's just dive right in and see exactly what history can teach us about tomorrow. So why exactly do great nations fall? It's a big question. A highly successful investor named Ray Dalio really wanted to figure this out. He was looking around and saw some pretty unusual things happening in the global economy. Things like high debts, zero interest rates, and deep political anger. Stuff he had literally never seen in his own lifetime. Because of this, he decided to look back at the last 500 years of human history. He wanted to understand why powerful empires rise to the very top and, why they eventually decline and fall. Part 1, The Big Cycle, Repeating History. What Dalio discovered is that history doesn't just move in a straight line. Instead, it moves in big circles or cycles. You can kind of think of a country just like a human being. A person is born, grows strong in their youth, gets older, and eventually passes away. Or think about the seasons in nature. First, you have the rise. This is like spring. After a hard time, people start working together, they're disciplined, they focus on getting a good education, and they build the future. Then comes the peak, which is like summer. The country is rich, it's powerful, and it basically sets the rules for the rest of the world. But then we hit the decline. This is autumn. People get a little too comfortable, they spend way too much money, and society starts to cool down. And finally, there's the fall, winter. This is a really tough time, full of crisis, conflict, and economic pain. And we can clearly see this cycle repeating over and over in world history. Back in the 1600s, the Dutch were the top global power. They had their spring and summer, and they became incredibly wealthy. But eventually, they went through their winter. Then, in the 1800s, world leadership passed over to the British Empire. They controlled trade all over the map. Fast forward past the world wars in the 1900s, the British lost that top spot, and the United States became the new global leader. You see, the cycle just keeps moving. Part 2, Signs of Decline, Warning Signals. So how do we actually know when the season is changing from good to bad? Well, clear warning signs always start to pop up in a society. When a country is at the very top, life gets very comfortable. And the biggest warning sign of all? Debt. Now, what exactly is debt? Simply put, it's borrowing money right now that you absolutely must pay back later, usually with an extra cost called interest. Think about a normal family. If a family starts spending way more money than it brings in, well, they're gonna get into trouble pretty fast, right? Countries do the exact same thing. During those peak summer years, they borrow heavily to live a comfortable life, maybe fight expensive wars, and just buy things they can't really afford. Ray Dalio uses a really powerful medical metaphor to explain this. He says, debt service payments build up like plaque in the arteries of your system. That basically means too much debt acts like a dangerous disease inside the body. Slowly but surely, it blocks the healthy flow of money. It literally chokes the country's economy. So when a sudden crisis happens, the country has no money left to fix its problems, simply because it's spending absolutely everything just to pay back old loan. The second major warning sign is internal conflict. Over time, as a country gets older, the gap between the rich and the poor grows really wide. A small group of people has a lot of wealth, while many others have very little. And naturally, because of this, the people get angry. They stop trusting their leaders, and worse, they stop trusting each other. It's kind of like a family that stops working as a team and just fights all day long. And when a nation fights inside itself like that, it becomes incredibly weak on the outside. Part 3, The World Today. Power shifting now. So, what does all this history mean for us today? Well, global power is actually shifting right now, just as it has so many times before. On one side, we have the established power, the United States. It currently has the world's largest economy, but it's also facing very high debt and deep political division at home. On the other side, we have a rising power, China. It's growing rapidly, inventing new technologies and expanding its global trade. This situation naturally creates tension. History shows us that when a rising power challenges an established power, conflicts like trade wars or technology wars almost always happen. Now, seeing these two giant powers compete can feel really stressful. But here is an important reminder for us. This tension is simply a natural transfer of leadership. Just like the Dutch passing power to the British and the British passing it to the US. It's just the natural movement of history. So even if the world is entering a difficult winter period, we have to remember, winter always clears the ground and eventually leads to a brand new spring of growth and prosperity.
Part 4, Lessons for Your Life. Prepare for Change.
how can we actually use this knowledge for our own self-improvement? How do you prepare yourself and your family for these changing seasons? Well, Ray Dalio suggests some really practical, simple habits that you can start right now. First, keep learning and stay flexible. If the world changes, your skills need to change too. Second, save money for a rainy day. Try not to take on too much personal debt. Third, build strong relationships. Your family, your friends, and your community, they are your absolute best support system during hard times. And finally, stay calm and focus on the long term. Try not to panic every single time you read the daily news. Just focus on your own health and building good habits. That brings us to the end of our explainer today. But before you go, I want to leave you with a really powerful question to reflect on. Are you building a strong foundation for your own changing seasons? The world order is always going to change. Nations will rise and they will definitely fall. But you have the power to choose to be prepared, to be adaptable, and to be ready for whatever season comes next in your life. Thank you so much for joining us on English Through Ideas. Keep practicing your English and keep exploring those big ideas.